Welcome to Carly's Colorful Corner, where you will learn how to shade your snow leopard using pen and ink. In this class, we will specialize in the side hatching technique. You will also learn different various ways to create light and dark using the side hatching technique. And you will learn how to draw things realistically using the side hatching technique. Now let's get started. We're going to start at the top of the head here, and we're going to glide our pen in a diagonal sideward slant and create a series of sideways slanted lines in order to fill in the body or the shape of our snow leopard. The key here is to keep our lines close together. The closer together, the darker the shade, and further away, the lighter the shade. We're looking kind of for like a medium here, so we are going to leave a little bit of white in between each line, but we generally want our line to be close together in proximity. So filler shade is not too light, it's not too dark, it's right in the middle. So make sure that when you're doing this filler shade, you're going in with a light hand. If you vary your pressure, then the areas in which you have more pressure are going to appear darker than the areas in which you have less pressure. So make sure that when you're doing this, you're evenly pressured throughout your entire piece. And if your ink is starting to gather, like let's say you have like a super fancy roller glider pen with like a really wet ink, you might have a tendency where it starts balling up some of the ink at the edge of your line. To prevent that from happening, just vary your how long your strokes are going to be. Like for mine, you can tell that when I get to the end of my stroke, some of that ink kind of builds up at the end. For me to prevent that, I keep my strokes kind of varied, but I keep my pressure super light. So just take your time as you move across the body of your snow leopard. We're mainly worried about like the general area of the snow leopard. Don't do the half that's underneath the face or underneath the belly, because that in itself is actually going to be a different shade. Just focus specifically on the rest of the area as a whole. So now that you have your filler shade pretty much blocked in, it's time to work with your darkest dark. We're going to do our darkest dark so that way we can see if our filler shade's kind of like in the middle. We'll have that filler shade right next to that eyeball that we're starting to block in here. And we're going to see how much of a contrast. Ooh, excuse me, how much of contrast that will be. It'll give us kind of an idea of what to work with. Let's keep doing that side diagonal hatch by moving in that diagonal slant direction from one end of the eye to the other. Leave your shine spots purely white. These are your highlight areas. Highlight areas don't get any shadow whatsoever. They are specifically where the light hits the eye and has that kind of glossy or shine effect. So avoid your highlight circles if you happen to have highlight circles drawn into your snow leopard's face. Now, in order to get a darker dark, you want to eliminate any white, your darkest dark rather. You want to eliminate any white in between your lines. You want like a pitch black here, or I have a blue pen, so a pitch blue. In order to do this, you might even have to draw over your line more than once and create a series of layered lines if you need to. But the main goal here is to eliminate that white from the surface of your paper. You can also choose to push down more on your pen to allow more ink to pool. Totally up to you, your choice, your art. Feel free to pause this video if necessary. It's going to take some time for you to fill in those eyes and fill in the filler shade. If you're ready to go, then great. You're going to use the same technique that you used on the eyes. You're going to use it on the nose, the mouth, and the whiskers of your snow leopard. We want to get those guys to pop, so we're going to use a really dark value. So I've added some shade to the underside of the belly and along the neck, but I almost feel as if it's not popping enough. So I'm going to darken my filler shade just a little because I almost feel like my filler shade is too close in intensity to my stomach and the underside of my neck. So I'm going to add another layer of ink on top of my filler shade using the same technique. I'm going to go really light with this second layer. I'm doing the same thing that I did the first time. I'm just doing a second layer of ink over it in order to darken it just a little bit more. This will help my neck and my stomach pop through, and it will help kind of separate these two shapes to make my neck and my stomach more pronounced. Now that we have the body of our snow leopard done, like the base filler and the neck and the stomach area, like the underside of the fur, we're now going to layer or add another layer of darkness on top of our filler to create the spots, kind of like how we did originally to make the filler a little bit darker. Well, now we're going to kind of isolate some areas and add some more layers in order to put in the spots as well. So feel free to pause the video when needed, or take a peek at what I'm doing if you're ready to go. But by all means, if you need to pause and give yourself some time to catch up, please do so before playing the video again. And just play the video again when you're ready. So let's continue this technique as we move around the body of our snow leopard. You decide what shapes you want your spots to be, how big, how small, where you want them, so on and so forth. Totally up to you. Your art, your choice. But that, my friend, is specifically how to shade a snow leopard using a diagonal hatch, side hatch shading technique. Thanks again for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you soon. For more tips and tricks on how to draw or how to paint, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Carly's Colorful Corner. Or for more in-depth, personalized lessons, please feel free to reach out to me on our OUTSCHOOL platform or on my homeschooling network. Until then, we look forward to seeing you in the classroom.